Hello everyone, and welcome back to Look Who's Cooking. Today we're going to make a date night special. We're going to make shrimp ceviche. Shrimp ceviche, you ask? All you're doing is simply taking cooked or raw shrimp and just marinating it in an acid, preferably lemon juice or lime juice. You can even use orange juice as well, as long as it has a high citric acid content. So today we're going to take our various ingredients that we have and we're going to combine them and make a meal that you do not have to cook, but yet it will be cooked through all the way through the marinating process. So today we just have about 6 Roma tomatoes, 1 jalapeno, a bunch of cilantro. We have an English cucumber, but we're probably going to use about half of that. 2 avocados, 1 red onion, about 7 limes, and just some pepper. And we have some tomato juice that is spiced, but you don't have to use the spicy one. I like spicy, so I got the caliente version of the tomato juice. So first and foremost, what we need to do is just get a simple bowl. You need to have a glass or non-metal bowl, simply for the reason that you don't want the acid from the lemon or lime juice or whatever acidic juices that you use to have a negative reaction with the bowl. So plastic or glass should be sufficient enough. And you're going to take your shrimp. You can use any size shrimp that you want. You can use prawns, you can use baby shrimp, you can buy cooked shrimp. You know, it all is okay, but depending on what size you use, it depends on how long it takes to marinate. So first what we're going to do is take our shrimp and we're going to just simply dice it. It doesn't have to be a uniform dice, but as long as it's a good, decent size, because the smaller your dice, the quicker and easier it will take to marinate this product. So we're going to just take some simple shrimp. This is about a 16-20 size shrimp, and this has already been peeled and deveined. You definitely need to do that because you don't want shells and you don't want the entrails in your product as well. So we're just going to take our shrimp and just simply dice it. I'm going to cut it in smaller pieces first, and then I'm going to go right back over it again to make sure that they're smaller. And like any other time, you just want to put it all in a pile, press your hand firmly on top, and just rock. And if it runs away from me, just scoop it right back in and go the opposite direction. And you're going to do this with all the shrimp that you have. You're going to need probably about 3 pounds of shrimp. I'm going to make a little bit more because I have a lot of people I need to feed. Take our shrimp, put it in our bowl, and continue this process for all the shrimp. Now this dish, you don't simply have to use shrimp. You can use any type of seafood. If you like fish, if you like scallops, if you like mussels or clams or oysters or things of that nature. The lemon juice or lime juice or whatever citric juice that you have will definitely cook the food thoroughly. And you'll see what I mean once we finally finish the marinating process. As you can notice, the shrimp has a translucent color, but once it cooks or marinates in the citric acid, it's going to have an opaque color, and that's when you know it'll be finished. But you'll see that once we finish this process. Okay, now since we finished getting our shrimp diced and ready, we're going to do the next step is we're going to squeeze the juice out of 7 limes onto our shrimp. So we're going to take a lime, any lime would do, whether you find at a grocery store, and what you want to do prior to squeezing it, you just want to roll it. What it does, it kind of loosens up the pulp and the flesh inside of the lime, and it makes it easier to squeeze. So just gently, firmly press against it and roll it across the table or cutting board and it makes it easier to squeeze. So we're gonna do that to all of our limes. And you don't have to use limes. You can use lemon juice or grapefruit juice or orange juice, but limes are very acidic and it gives it wonderful flavor, especially when you add the rest of the things that we're going to add, like the tomatoes and the cilantro. So what you're going to do is cut it in half and squeeze it. Now you can either do one of two things. You can squeeze it either through a screen or a filter or things like that, or just take your hand and squeeze it like this. What this does, it'll prevent the pulp and the seeds from falling into your shrimp. But what I'm going to do, I have a fancy screen, I'm going to use that. And you can find this at any grocery store as well. Cut the line. This is a workout right here. Let's switch arms. There we go. Now, if you don't want to do it this way, you can use this a standard juicer or things of that nature, and you can do it that way. Or if you want to buy it pre-juiced in a bottle or jar from your local grocery store, you can do that as well. As long as it is lemon juice or lime juice or any type of fresh juice, it should be sufficient enough for this particular meal. Just want to cut all of them, make it a lot easier. So if you don't want to squeeze limes like me, just buy you a bottle of lime juice from the store. You'll save you time and hand strength, because right now my fingers are cramping up. All right, so now since we have all of our limes squeezed into our shrimp, just going to stir it up just to make sure all of our shrimp is coated in lime juice. And at this point, we're just going to put it in our refrigerator for an hour or until all of our shrimp becomes an opaque color. And then we're going to finish the process once that's done. So just a quick reminder, if for those that are sensitive to acidic juices or things of that nature, always remember to wash your hands, even when it pertains to the shrimp. Those that may have shellfish allergies or things of that nature, always wash your hands, always clean your surfaces, because you don't want to cross-contaminate and you don't want to get individuals sick, including yourself. All right, it's been about an hour, give or take a few minutes. And now our shrimp, as you can see, is nicely covered in the liquid that we put in. I put, lime juice and everything. And now it's a nice opaque color. The longer it sits, the more it will cook. But you also have to be careful, because the longer it does sit, it will be a little bit more chewy. So you want to kind of leave it at an hour. Anything longer than that, it will kind of overcook the shrimp. But if you're okay with that, you can go ahead and be your guest. So we're going to, at this point, add our vegetables. So now, like I said, we're going to add our tomatoes, our jalapeno, our cilantro, our cucumber, onion, and avocado. So with this, we're going to dice up everything and put it in our bowl. And once we do that, we're going to combine our shrimp and all our vegetables. So with the tomato, you're just going to cut it in half, cut it in half again. And what I like to do, I like to cut it in strips. And then cut it the opposite way, as small as you can, kind of just gliding the knife through the tomato. You don't want to chop or bang the knife, because that can lead to cutting yourself or even just damaging the tomato as well. And with this, you don't have to use as many tomatoes as I did. If you want to scale back on the tomatoes and just put maybe a few here and there, that's totally fine. If you want to make this a very heavy tomato-based ceviche, you can also add as much tomato as you want. You can use Roma tomatoes, you can use the big tomatoes, you can even use cherry tomatoes, whatever tomatoes you have, as long as they're a nice fresh tomato. And you also want to be careful. You don't want huge chunks. So let's double check to make sure that's not too big. I'm just going to do one more tomato because I think 4 tomatoes is actually sufficient for this meal. The wonderful thing about cooking, even though you do have a recipe, you don't have to follow it. Whatever you feel like, you can always do. If that's your business, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to make it extra spicy, you can do that. If you want to omit tomatoes, you can do that. If you want to add other vegetables, you always can do that. That's the wonderful thing about cooking. Okay, now we're going to add our tomatoes to our bowl. And next, we're going to dice up our jalapeno. Now, you don't have to use jalapeno. You can use just a regular bell pepper. You can use a poblano. If you want to be adventurous and throw a habanero in there, like I said, you can do that, but just be careful. Spicy. Now, like I said, with other peppers, you want to remove the seeds and the rib, especially with the jalapeno because the heat is contained in the seeds and the rib. So the last thing you want to do is bite into it and have that burst of heat from the seed. You want to rip it out. You can take a knife and kind of scrape it, or just your fingers, and get it out. And also be careful when it comes to jalapenos. The oils will get in your hands. So if you're cooking and snacking on something, remember that jalapeno oil is going to get on the food that you touched. So always remember to wash your hands. And with that, like I said, we cut it in half, and I'm going to dice this as well. You want to flatten it out as best as possible and just cut it into strips first, just gently gliding the knife down the jalapeno. And you want to take your slices, line them up, and go the opposite way into a dice. Remember, always gripping them, having a firm grip, try to prevent them from sliding. We're going to add that to our bowl as well. And I'm going to use the whole jalapeno because I like it spicy. Okay, now since we have that cut, we're going to add the cilantro. And with that, we're just going to need a few leaves. And we're just going to dice them as well, almost a mince. Now, what you can do, you can pluck them, but a lot of times I just cut them straight from the bunch. If a little stem gets in there, it's totally fine, as long as you mince it. So I'm going to just take my pile, make sure my blade is clean, and just firmly placing the hand on top, rocking motion, and you want to chop it. Okay, once that's finished, we want to add that to our bowl as well. Make sure you're cleaning your blade because a lot of cilantro did stick on. I'm just scraping everything off of the cutting board. Next, we're going to add our cucumber. I'm only going to take about half a cucumber. And we're going to dice this as well. Be careful with cucumbers because they roll, so you kind of want to hold them firmly. If you're not comfortable with getting that claw grip on it, you can just grip it from both sides and place the blade in between your hand like so until you get a flat surface. And then at this point, you can start the dicing process. So like with the pepper, go lengthwise down the length of the cucumber and go the opposite way, cutting in small bits. And once that's diced, we're going to add that to the bowl. And you do the same to the other half of our cucumber. Right. Now we're going to add our onions, and with that we're going to take a red onion, cut that in half, and we're going to dice that as well. If, like I said, if you're not comfortable with holding with the claw, place the blade and hold it in between so it doesn't roll and just go down. If you have a sharp knife, it should be fairly easy to cut through. Now with that, I just cut the top off a little bit just so I can remove the skin, because you don't want that in your ceviche. And with the onion, you have to also remember keeping a flat surface prevents it from rolling and sliding all over the place. Now with onions, you want to go lengthwise where you see the ribs or the lines on the onion. You want to cut lengthwise that way. Now when you cut, you don't want to go all the way to the base, because this is where the dicing part comes in. There's a little trick right here with that. So you want to just cut lines like so along the entirety of the onion, not going all the way to the base, so it's still all connected. And then the opposite way, you're just going to cut alongside the opposite way, and there you have your dice. This works with every onion that you cut. And about a half an onion should be sufficient enough. If you like onions, you could use the whole thing. It's totally your preference. Last but not least, we're going to add the avocado. Now, I'm not a fan of avocados, but other people are. So when it comes to avocados, what you're looking for, you want it to be somewhat soft, but not too soft. You don't want it to be mushy like a pudding, but you don't want it to be hard as a rock. So when you go to the grocery store, you want to kind of grab or feel the avocado. Also, the color that you're looking for, you want it to be more on the brownish side. Anything that's a little green, of course, is not going to be the ripest that you need it to be. So with avocados, you have to remember there's the seed in the middle. So when it comes to cutting avocados, like with the onion, hold it on both sides and press the knife firmly into the avocado, gliding until you stop on a seed. Now you can see that I'm not going any further. This is a trick that I like to do, but if you're not comfortable with doing it, you may have to do it on the table, and I'll show you how to do that as well. I just glide the knife and rotate the avocado on the knife, keeping the knife firmly pressed against the seed. And then I just kind of twist the knife a little bit till it pops open. And there you have it, avocado seed. Okay, so depending on where you live, you can take this seed and you can try to grow this. But what we want to do, we're going to take the avocado and we're going to dice it. Now, what I like to do with the avocado is another trick that I like to do as well. I take the blade and just gently glide it across the inside of the avocado, pressing it against the skin. The skin should be tough enough to prevent it from going through and poking yourself. But you just want to take your time and be gentle. And you can feel the knife grazing the skin because it feels rough and a little bumpy. I went lengthwise. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go opposite way. And then once that's done, I'm just going to simply peel the skin off the avocado. And that is going to be diced and ready to go into our ceviche. Now you can use a spoon to scoop this out, but if you use your hands, it's totally fine as long as your hands are clean. So if you're not comfortable with holding the avocado in the way that I did, you can just do the same thing on the table, or you can peel it and dice the avocado on the countertop. And that's what I'll show at this moment. Having it face down on the flat side, you're just going to do the same thing, just glide your knife across. And you're going to add the avocados in with the rest of our product. Now lastly, we're going to add our pepper. About a tablespoon of pepper. I'm using cracked black pepper. You can use table ground pepper, whatever you like. And then we're going to combine our ingredients with our shrimp. Just going to mix everything up, all that pepper, that lime or lemon juice, whatever you like to use, the jalapenos, the cilantro, avocado, cucumber, that's all going to blend nicely together. Now you normally want to use a bigger bowl, but this is the only bowl that I could find that was close to me, so. All right, making a mess. And lastly, we're going to add just about a half a cup of our tomato juice. Like I said, you can use any tomato juice that you find, but I found a spiced or a more spicy tomato juice. And like I said, we're going to add about a half a cup to it. This will give it a nice tomatoey flavor. It's going to add more acidity to it because tomatoes already has acid. And plus this is already seasoned. It's going to add the spice level that you're looking for as well. And we're going to mix that all together. Let's move this out the way. And there you have it. We have a simple ceviche that requires no cooking, no stove, no oven, just a refrigerator and a skilled set of hands. Thank you for joining me for Look Who's Cooking. My name is Jeremy Edwards, and we'll see you again soon.